Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So in today's episode, we're going to share with you some tips and a framework through which you can learn to have difficult conversations with people without destroying relationships. It's a super important skill. I think, just me personally, I think it's one of the skills that has allowed me to excel in life because I'm not afraid to have difficult conversations with people. I've learned over the years to do it in a way that it can be productive, it can be well received, and it becomes collaborative if you do it the right way. Not always. Sometimes things blow up. It's not always easy. It's not always fun. But I'm going to give you some tools and techniques and some frameworks by which you can learn to have these conversations with people and be successful at having them and resolve issues instead of accelerating or exacerbating the issues that are existing. So that's the episode for today. Lots of useful stuff. Stick with us to the end so you get all the tips. Let's just jump into it. Now, most people don't fail in life because they lack talent, because they lack desire. Most people fail because they avoid problems. They avoid hard conversations with people. They let resentment build. They complain privately or to other people instead of addressing issues directly. They choose comfort over clarity, and that's not a good place to be. Avoiding conflict does not create peace. It creates silent damage that builds up over time. And today, I'm going to give you a framework. The key here, not even the key, but a good way to do this, I came up with an acronym because I know people can sometimes remember those better, is PREP. That's the structure. So before we go into each tip, prep. The first P is prepare yourself emotionally for the conversation. You want to be a good mental headspace to have these conversations whenever possible. The R is to respect the person. So the R is just show them respect. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to yell. You don't have to name call. You don't have to be a jerk to have difficult conversations. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You don't want to do any of those things if you want to be successful. So you've got to be mentally ready to have the conversation. You've got to be prepared to show the other person respect. They're probably having a difficult time too. If you create a respectful environment, they'll probably mirror that same respect back to you. The E is to explain the behavior, not the character. There's a difference between it bothers me when you don't put your clothes away to you're a slob and don't care what anything looks like. One is very specific. It's an issue you can address. The other is a personal attack, and you're going to lose that person very quickly. So the E is explain behavior, explain examples, not generalized statements, and not personal attacks. And then the last P is you've got to be ready to propose a path forward. Don't have this conversation whenever possible unless you've got a couple of solutions or thoughts that you can throw out to help the problem solving start once you get the issue out on the table. This framework is going to keep the conversation productive instead of emotional. And that's the whole goal that we're going for here. Trying to avoid engagement of the amygdala, keep the conversation between prefrontal cortexes so that you can problem solve with the person that you're collaborating with here in this difficult conversation. So tip number one here is to regulate yourself before you speak. If you're emotional, if you're high strung, if you're still wired because you just found out some bad news or just got something happened that you weren't happy about, you're not ready to talk. So don't fly off the handle. Don't immediately go charging into a situation. Neuroscience research shows that when emotions spike, the prefrontal cortex, like we talked about, responsible for reasoning, temporarily goes offline. You literally become less rational. We've all seen this happen to other people. We've all felt this happen to ourselves. It's not a good place to be. I had this happen to myself yesterday in a conversation with my wife and my mother. And my wife calmly said, "Hey, that's not the way to talk." She was right. That made me pause, made me re-engage my prefrontal cortex. And I said, "You're right. I'm sorry." And we continued the conversation because she did a really good job of regulating emotions when I was the one that was letting my emotions get the best of me. So it doesn't matter who you are. These techniques work. Even like I know these techniques and I'm the one that needed them used on me yesterday. So these techniques will work. Nobody's perfect. You're not going to get it right all the time, but if you stick to this framework, you're going to have much more success than you've had in the past. Hard conversation should never start at an emotional peak intensity. That's a terrible time to have those conversations. If you talk while you're angry, your goal is to win, That's not what the goal of the conversation should be. It should be collaboration and problem solving. So if your mindset is, I'm going to win, I'm going to give them a piece of my mind, not the time to have the conversation. You want to get to a place where you're thinking about problem solving and collaboration. So the action step here is before you initiate this conversation, slow down your breathing. Literally focus on your breathing and slow it down. Write your points down so that you've filtered them in your head and you're prepared to have this conversation. And then ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? What is the outcome I'm trying to accomplish here? Have a goal in mind before you start the conversation. If your answer is revenge or to make yourself feel better or to yell at someone, you're not ready to talk. If your answer is resolution, collaboration, solving the issue and moving forward, you're ready. You're in a good mental state and you can engage in that conversation. You also want to make sure the other person's ready. Simply because you're ready doesn't mean the other person is. So ask them, like, I got something that may be difficult to talk about. Is now a good time or do you want to do this later? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Make sure they have a chance to get in a good headspace too. Okay. Tip number 2, start with shared intent. Remember, it's not you versus them. It's you and that person versus whatever the issue is that you're bringing up. Most difficult conversations fail in the first 30 seconds because people enter defensive mode when they think they're under attack, and we're trying to avoid that. Communication research shows that conversations go better when the speaker establishes mutual purpose. That signals safety and shared goals to the other party instead of an adversarial conversation. So we want to create an environment where they feel like this is a problem-solving session, not a personal attack. Instead of, we need to talk, you fucked up, try, I want to talk because I care about X, our relationship, the project, whatever it is that you have in common with this person. And you want to work better together. I want us to solve the problem together. That sentence is going to change the entire emotional tone because you've established it's not a personal attack. You've established you don't want to come after them. You've established that you want to bring resolution together with them. That creates collaboration instead of adversarial positions. So, action step here, ways to start these conversations. I value working with you. I value our relationship. It's important to me that we maintain a good relationship. Something like that. I want us to solve this together. I need your help. I can't do this alone, and I know how good you are in these situations. Something that engages them and lets them know it's a collaboration, not a personal attack. My goal here is to solve the problem, not to blame anyone. I'm not looking to assess blame. That takes a lot of air out of the room, just making one of those 3 statements. You're lowering defenses before you start addressing the issue and setting the tone. The conversation is going to be mutual, respectful, and collaborative, not a fight or a personal attack. Number 3, describe the behavior, not the identity, like we talked about, right? So that's the E, explain behavior, not personal identity. That's the biggest mistake that people make. They attack the person instead of the behavior. Behavior can change. Identity feels permanent. People get defensive when they feel like you're attacking their identity. Psychology research on defensiveness shows that identity threats trigger immediate resistance because they feel like you're literally attacking them as a person, not bringing up an issue to resolve, but you're pointing out a character flaw that's they can't change or fix. Once someone feels labeled like that, they stop listening, and it's not a collaboration, it's a fight. And you're not trying to start a fight. That's bad. So what does that look like? You're irresponsible. That's not a good way to start. A better way to start is, hey, this report was late 3 months this time. Can we talk about what's causing that? Facts reduce arguments. Labels create a war. And you're not looking to create a war. You're looking to solve a problem. So the action step here, I'm going to give you a little formula to use. When X happens, the impact is Y. Example. When meetings start late, the team loses focus and we fall behind schedule. Specific, observable, neutral. That's not disputable. That's factual. And it's not a personal attack. Meetings start late because you're disorganized. Nope. We need the meetings to start on time so we can stay on schedule and keep the team engaged. How do we work together to make that happen? Real straightforward. That's a solution suggestion. That's not a fight. You're not looking to start a fight. You're looking to solve a problem. Tip number 4 here is to invite their perspective. You want to engage them in the problem-solving process. Hard conversations are not speeches. You're not talking at someone. They're conversations. That's what we talked about. Difficult conversations, not difficult accusations, not difficult personal attacks, difficult conversations. It's two people exchanging thoughts and ideas. People cooperate more when they feel heard, when they know you're listening to them. Studies on negotiation and conflict resolution show that perceived fairness increases when both sides speak, even if the outcomes don't fully change. So long as they feel heard and they got their points across, they're going to feel better about the conversation. So one way to do this is to ask, how do you see this situation? How do you feel about this? You're not surrendering authority. You're gathering information. Give me your perspective. I do this all the time in negotiations. When I am in a negotiation, I generally talk less than the other person because I want them to give me information. I want them to explain what their goals and objectives are. I want them to tell me what issues they need resolved, because if I can find a way to resolve their issues while still getting what I want, I win. Like, it's a great way to go, but you have to invite their perspective and truly listen to them when you do it. Sometimes the problem looks different from their side, and you don't know that if you don't ask them. So the action step here is, after you explain your concern, you take a pause and ask, what's your take? What am I missing? Help me understand your side. Give me your perspective, some version of that, to engage them in the conversation, get them sharing thoughts and information, and now they're working on collaborating with you, and it's not you attacking them or you criticizing them. Then they'll actually listen, and you have to actually listen. That's a big part of it. You have to actually listen to what they're saying and incorporate those thoughts and feelings and perspectives into your solution that you work on with the other person. Okay. Tip number 5 is you got to end this thing with clear agreement. There can't be ambiguity or it's not going to be resolved. Vague conversations create repeated problems. My wife and I have done this where we've had a conversation, we've stopped and said, I just don't feel like we got to the finish line on that last conversation. Sometimes it's her, sometimes it's me. It doesn't matter. It's important that both of us feel good about it. And if one person isn't there yet, then you got to keep going till you get there. If there's no agreed action, nothing changes. It's real straightforward. High-performing teams use explicit next steps because clarity reduces future conflict. Instead of, we're going to try to do better. That's not resolution. That's an affirmation. There's nothing wrong with affirmations, but it's not going to get you where you want to be. Specific actionable next steps or specific actionable agreements get you where you want to be. So instead of let's do better, going forward, we'll send updates every Friday by 3 p.m. Can we all agree on that? Now we've got a communication process in place. We've got a deadline in place. We've got expectations that we've all agreed to. Now we're getting somewhere. Hard conversations succeed when they produce a structure or a resolution that can last long term. So the action step here is to always end a difficult conversation with a specific change, a timeline, and mutual confirmation, like we just talked about, right? Going forward, we'll send updates every Friday by 3 p.m. Specific timeline, we've all agreed to it. There's no guessing, there's no assumptions. We're all on the same page and we can move forward. So you can't avoid difficult conversations. It's not going to get you where you want to be in life. It doesn't make relationships better. It doesn't protect anything. It just kicks the can down the road. It lets resentment build. It lets miscommunication and misinterpretation happen because they may be thinking one thing and you are thinking a different thing and they don't know what you're thinking. It's a bad place to be. It's going to weaken that relationship slowly over time. It's going to weaken trust. It's not where you want to be. You have to confront things in a meaningful way when you recognize that they're happening. Respectful honesty builds trust. Silence builds resentment. Strong adults talk about hard things calmly, directly, and with purpose. It's emotional discipline, it's leadership, and it's maturity. And it's a skill you can learn. You can train yourself to get better at this. You just have to want to get better at it. So remember our framework, guys. Prep. Just keep that prep in your mind. Prepare emotionally, respect the person, explain the behavior, not the character, and propose a path forward. If you filter your hard conversations through that, you'll have much more success going forward. So hope you find that helpful. If you do, send it to a friend. They're all tips that I've used over my decades of experience in both my personal and professional life. They work. They work on me when I'm the idiot that's not engaging in the conversation or let my emotions get the best of me. It happens to all of us. We want to be leaders. We want to have good conversations with people, even when they're hard. this will help you do it. Okay. So James puts it up over here every day. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are available there. Links to all of our social media accounts are available there. We publish a newsletter every weekday you can subscribe to there. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to our podcast, whatever platform you consume it on. Gonna have episodes like this where we give you action items to help you improve on things in your life. We do interviews with awesome people who share their experiences. Now you can learn from their experiences to improve your life. We've got the live stream that we do every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, where we have someone on and we just talk about stuff that matters to us or what's going on. It's a good live stream, getting good attendance to it. You may want to check it out every Thursday at 6 p.m. All good stuff, all going to help you build the life that you want. You don't want to miss any of it. So make sure you catch our next episode. We'll see you there.